Hello guys, this video is going to show you how to calculate your fuel consumption and therefore calculate how much fuel you'll need to complete a race using the Atlas telemetry for iRacing and a spreadsheet I made for that purpose. Okay, once you're in iRacing, this should all look very familiar to you. You're going to hit Alt-L, and as you can see on the right side, where my cursor's at, telemetry just popped up. That means once we jump into the car, it will start saving the telemetry that streams off of it. And as you can see, once you're actually in the car, telemetry is still highlighted. So what we'll do is drive 5 to 10 laps here. It doesn't have to be a flat-out qualifying pace, but they do need to be consistent. Just try and keep your off tracks to a minimum. I usually run with a full tank for this, and then run my 10 laps. So once you run that, you can exit the car using escape. So there's a piece of information we need from the garage, so we'll open up that, click on the chassis tab, and we need to know how much fuel the gas tank will hold. And now if a particular race is running with a fuel tank limit, for example 75%, well, you'll run the fuel level all the way up, and then you'll take 75% of that, and that will be your amount of fuel. Otherwise, you can just copy it straight from the screen. For this particular example, 25.8 gallons is as much as we can hold because we're running with a 75% limit in the race. So once we take note of that, we can click Done, and then we can exit iRacing. Okay, now we're back on our desktop. We can proceed to open Atlas. In the iRacing forums on the CMS website, there is a topic stickied that will show you how to set all of that up. So here we go, open Atlas. The software is made by McLaren. It's the actual software that all of the teams in Formula One are using, since McLaren is the engine control unit supplier. So now it's time to open a workbook. So we'll go up here to open it. This workbook that we're going to open is in that same sticky thread on the CMS website. Now that's going to load up, and what that does is adds a list of pages down here that just display different information that comes off the car. Next, we'll have to go to open the actual telemetry file, which is this blue folder up here. And from time to time, you may have to clean out this folder. I know I've cleaned out mine because I had so much information from so many different cars. But basically, you'll look for the session that you recorded data for. And this particular one is right here, McLaren MP4 Silverstone GP circuit. I ran 19 laps. So once you have it highlighted, you can click Load. Alright, and here's all our information. Just a quick rundown. I have different tabs in here for different things. This shows top speed, throttle and brake, percentages, what gear I'm in, steering angle. This shows the friction circle, braking and throttle percentages again, wheel speeds, ride heights, chassis movement. This shows engine parameters. This is a table to show my optimal shift time. This is shock deflection and the shock velocity. Over here I've got tire info, temps and pressures, and lastly a track map. But we're interested in the driver tab, and down here we have our lap time, and the other column we're going to be interested in is our fuel level, and it says end. That's fuel level at the end of the lap. And you can scroll down because I ran so many laps, and Basically, you're going to look for a block of 5 to 10 laps that were good and clean. You notice here lap 13, 154, that's kind of outside of what I had been running, so I would not use that lap for any data. And same thing here, only ran 3 laps that were good enough. So what we'll do is we'll just take our fuel data from my opening 10 laps. So now we'll open the fuel calculator spreadsheet. It depends. I use OpenOffice, but you can also use Microsoft Excel. I'm not sure about any of the formats on the Apple operating system. Now, I had already filled in this earlier, but I'll go and show you what to fill out here. The blue cells are things that you can enter. Every other cell is locked, and the yellow cells are informational. That's where most of our information that we will use for the race will come from. So if you're on Windows 8 like I am, you can just simply drag the window over to the edge, and of course it'll snap. I'll do the same thing with telemetry. Otherwise, you're just going to have to drag and resize the windows. So now what we do, windows are side by side. What we do is take the fuel from the end of our out lap, because that's going to establish the amount of fuel we had in the tank at the beginning of lap 1. And that goes up here. And you just work your way down. Lap 1, at the end of lap 1, we had 22.974 gallons in the tank. And we put that in there on lap 2. So on and so forth. Just work your way down till you get 10 laps of data in. And then for your lap time, we take the lap time for lap 1, put that in the particular cell it goes in, and just work your way down. So on the spreadsheet, I've added a few cells. This one just shows the amount of fuel that you need to go 10 laps. In this case, for this car, the McLaren MP412C GT3, it will take 9.46 gallons about to go 10 laps. There's also a cell that shows your average lap time, and this is good for seeing what kind of pace you're going to run in the race. Now over here, if you notice, I put in 25.8 gallons, and that is why we went in the garage when we ran the sim and checked how much fuel the tank could hold. So since this particular example, we were limited to 75% capacity. 75% of 34.4 gallons is 25.8. So you just punch 25.8 in there, and that establishes how much fuel our tank can hold. Now these two cells, average fuel per lap and average lap in seconds, are automatically calculated. This takes the averages of the amount of fuel we use each lap, and this converts our average lap from minutes, seconds, into just seconds. This blue cell, you put in length of race, and our GT Endurance Series here at CMS runs 1 hour 30 minutes, 90 minutes. So we punch that in. If you ever run a shorter race, you can punch that in, a longer race, so on and so forth. Now these yellow cells are going to give us the data we need. At this average lap, and with this much time in the race, it estimates that we will run 47 laps. At this average fuel consumption per lap, it estimates that we will need 44.44 gallons to complete the race. Now obviously you can't put that much fuel in at the start, so we will need a pit stop, and that's what this box tells us. If we needed another pit stop, it would show it too, so on and so forth. This shows how many laps we can expect to go on a full tank. So this is good for calculating your pit strategy. If you would run a lap 27 and stop. What I do is, I've included this, a 15% safety margin, just in case. You never know, you might run a faster pace in the race, or have some other troubles come up, and you might burn more fuel than you were expecting. So that kind of takes care of that. So what I do is I take the amount of fuel that's estimated for the length of the race, and from that I subtract 25.8 or whatever the fuel tank volume is, and that will give me the amount of fuel I need to take on and my pit stop. So that is how to use the fuel calculator and calculate your fuel usage for iRacing. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them below. Thanks for watching.